I would certainly say that chemical warfare nerve agents do pose the greatest risk to humanity. First of all, that's based on their incredible toxicity. So very, very small amount is needed in order to be a lethal dose. But then also, I think that's colored by their use within the last few years. So, we saw relatively recently the mass poisoning of the Syrian people during that conflict. But then also, just individual poisoning. So the assassination of Kim Jong-nam, or even more recently with the Novichok agents that I mentioned before, the poisoning of the Skripals, and then even more recently than that, the poisoning of Navalny. So, I think based on their toxicity and based on the use, I think they pose the greatest risk. So certainly some measures have been taken in the Chemical Weapons Convention that help to restrict access and use. And recently the Novichoks were added to that list. But it still seems like people are able to access them, and so they become a particularly dangerous threat. Of the nerve agents, I would say that the Novichoks are likely the greatest threat. And I would say that currently, just based on the lack of knowledge associated with them, we don't know if they age. We don't know if it's possible to reactivate the inhibited acetylcholinesterase with the current therapeutics, or whether new ones will be needed, and things like that. So, and then also based on their incredible toxicity, as I mentioned earlier, they are at least as toxic as VX, if not more so. And so they pose an incredible threat for that reason. But then also a paper was recently published that demonstrated that they're actually quite stable. So quite a bit more stable than certainly the G agents and even than the D agents, which makes them even a persistent threat. So I'd say that they're the most dangerous. Next on the list for me would be soman or crotolsarin, and again, that's due to that incredibly fast aging half-life that those have, and the lack of treatment options after the aging has occurred. So.